Welcome along to Man in the Mirror. It's Hayden here. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Man in the Mirror is a podcast where each week I talk to a male guest or guests, as is the case this week, and we discuss self-care, self-image, and what the guest really thinks about the man or men that look back at them in the mirror. I like to find out about their work, their life, and I have a little route around their bathroom cabinets and find out about some of the products that they enjoy in their morning and evening routines. Now, sometimes a project comes along that seems absolutely perfect for the podcast, and I think if there was a Venn diagram for all the things that I'm interested in and that we cover, this would sit right at the centre. And it's a collaboration between Moss, the menswear store, a grooming and body care brand called Happy Paul. Now, Moss has been around for over 170 years now. You'll know it on the high street for classic craftsmanship and modern profiles. They changed their name more recently from Moss Bros to Moss, and we'll discuss that much more during the podcast. And they've collaborated with Happy Paul, which is a mood-lifting self-care brand, and it's all about a happy body and a happy mind. There's a range of products. And my guests are Robbi Hicks, who is the head of visual development at Moss, and Paul Gerrard, who is the founder of Happy Paul. And yeah, this collaboration came about, and Happy Paul products are on sale in Moss stores. And I suppose it's about feeling good outside and style and feeling good about how you look, and then feeling good inside too with the Happy Paul products. And Paul will explain much more about the genesis of Happy Paul, how it all came about and why it came about, and how this collaboration came about. But it seemed like really fertile ground for a Man in the Mirror conversation. I had the opportunity to go to the Moss office in North London. They moved to a new office fairly recently, beautiful space, and we recorded the podcast all together, which is always a real pleasure because it feels like, you know, when you're all sitting in a room, you can kind of bounce off each other. We had a really interesting conversation, which I hope and I think you're going to really enjoy, covering lots of ground. As always on the podcast, there's no advertising, but I do have a tipping service, which is at ko-fi.com, and that's ko-fi.com/man in the mirror. And yeah, being transparent, that goes, any funds that come in there go towards the running costs of the podcast, which are uploading to the various services and the distribution and my editing costs. So any tips you could give at ko-fi.com/man in the mirror would be hugely appreciated. So look, let's get into today's conversation with Robbi Hicks, the head of visual development at Moss, and Paul Gerrard, the founder of Happy Paul, talking to me, Hayden, on Man in the Mirror. Let's go. Welcome along to Man in the Mirror. It's Hayden here, and I've stepped outside the home studio and come to Camden to the Moss offices, and I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Robbi Hicks and Paul Gerrard. Thanks for doing this, guys.
Pleasure.
Lovely to see you both. And both of you looking really smart in Moss clothing, as am I. Robbie's very kindly loaned me a new season Moss suit, which is, describe this suit?
It's a beautiful khaki linen, I would say. A beautiful khaki linen suit would be the best way to describe it. You look great.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, single-breasted. I feel super sharp. It's making me sit up and take notice. But really beautiful. And actually, I did go in one of the Moss stores recently, and there's been a rebrand. Obviously, some people might know it as Moss Bros, but it's now just Moss and online as Moss.
Yep.
And the stores are looking fantastic, and maybe some listeners will know the brand from the occasion wear and hire and things like that. But if people haven't been in more recently, what are the changes that has happened in Moss?
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of really, that's very kind about the stores.
Oh, yeah, it was lovely. I went to on German Street.
Oh, well, yeah. Very nice. So, yeah, it sort of came about really going into COVID and quickly out of COVID when we finally got there. was introducing more product into the collection that people could buy almost outside of occasions.
Yeah.
So obviously we wanted to see the customer far more frequently. We've obviously got 174 years worth of history.
Yes. Yeah.
You take that tailoring expertise and knowledge and attention to detail and craft, and you start to put that into some other product categories. Hopefully the customer that already shops with us, we've seen is responding really well to that, but it also introduces a new customer to us that maybe wouldn't have considered us before.
Yeah. So. And as you mentioned, and this suit's got some linen, it's some really lovely linen pieces in store, isn't there? And perhaps more casual wear than people might think.
Yeah. And I think it's that balance. We're certainly tailoring, and suits are at the heart of our business for sure. But it's being able to take that suit and soften it with a T-shirt or an open collar linen shirt like you're wearing, rather than everything needing to be very formal. I'm wearing a khaki cotton suit and a slightly more casual shirt, but then I've got a tie on with it. So it's that sort of, we like to think of it as sort of softening, smart and elevating casual, really. So you get that beautiful sweet spot somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I should introduce Paul. It's Paul Gerrard, who's the founder of Happy Paul. And tell me about the collaboration with Moss, Paul, and how did that come about?
You want the truth or the...
Yeah, and the unvarnished truth.
Truth, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go for the truth. No, so I was lucky enough to know through another life, Brian Brick, who is the CEO here at Moss. I really respect his opinion, and I have this brand, Happy Paul, that I've developed, and it's making headway through salons and spas and a few other places, and I just wanted to get his thoughts on the brand. So it's a wellness brand that simply focuses on making people smile, which is the primary purpose that I created it. Obviously, I needed product after that. And we started with a fragrance, a mood-lifting fragrance blend that now runs throughout everything else in the collection.
And that's the Bright Spice
fragrance. It's the Bright Spice fragrance. So it's
which is really good.
Eucalyptus, thank you very much. It's pink peppercorn, cinnamon bark, spearmint. I would go on, but we don't want to be here forever. And it's quite an in-depth fragrance that I developed with an amazing perfume. She took me by my untrained nose, and she kind of led me through this process, which was an amazing journey. So anyway, I had this brand, Happy Paul, but I wanted to see and find out a bit more about how it could cope within the retail space. So I spoke to Brian, and he was kind enough to give me some of his time. And it came to note that they were trying to do a few things at Moss at this point in time, but there were some challenges. And I left Brian, and my brain kind of goes into overdrive quite a lot. And I woke up, and it happens to be at 3 a.m. that it goes into overdrive.
It's often when the best ideas come, though.
Yeah, it is. And it's when I kind of write things down and think, and try and go back to sleep. But instead of going back to sleep, I put together a short presentation, just thought, what if I took all those challenges out of their heads and, gave solutions to them. And I did that, and then wrote to Brian and said, look, I know 99% chance it'll be a no, which is fine, and I will still respect you as a person, because he is a lovely person. And, I'm not just saying that because now I'm in Moss. Yeah, he is a lovely person. And so I sent him the presentation, and then he matched me up with Robbi, and then Robbi, amazingly, and the team got Happy Paul into Moss, which at lightning speed. I mean, it was unreal.
But it feels like it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? That Moss looking after how you look and the external, and there's a brand here that's focusing on making you feel better and self-care from the inside.
Yeah, no, I think absolutely. I think it's about everyday joyful experience.
Yeah.
And I think Moss, it's a completely different beast to how it was 174 years ago when I was born.
Yep.
But it's, what I remember as a child is completely different to where it is and what it is now.
Right, yeah.
And I'm proud to be in there. It is an amazing space. If you've ever been into the new Moss stores, it is like incredible. It's chalk and cheese to how it was as well, and there's this kind of transformations going across. To be part of that is absolutely, it's inspiring. It's awesome.
And Happy Paul was born out of your own mental health challenges.
That's right. Yep. So I suffered from depression since I got my early teens. I have had good times. I've had bad times with it. I kind of now have got to a stage decades on where I feel like it's a bit like a superpower. I can't imagine people that don't know what it's like to have had depression. So
did you get help from the get-go? Was it something that you kept to yourself and coped with on your own?
It was different times. I definitely coped with it on my own, or didn't cope with it so much on my own. I think different times of going to a psychiatrist as opposed to a counsellor. I've retired quite a few counsellors in my time. I've made them cry more than they've made me cry. So I kind of have been through lots of different experiences, and, in my 20s, through advertising, through different incarnations of myself, I've transitioned through those periods, and I feel that I've definitely learned to feel more at ease with having it, and definitely much easier to talk about it, where I do feel that language is much more readily used.
Well, I was going to say, do you think that there's more people are more comfortable having these conversations anyway, and particularly men? Do you think that's helping you in that there's not so much stigma around it?
I think I've been listening to a lot of things that have been coming up recently. There was the Gareth Southgate thing.
Yeah.
There was a documentary or BBC documentary which informed on that as well. I think one of the scary things is where they go, I read that there was a crisis within for men and boys currently.
It's like it's in the news a lot, doesn't it? It's in the zeitgeist with adolescents Netflix show, and they say the Gareth Southgate Dimbleby lecture and things like that. Yeah,
and I think that it's really, it seems doom and gloom, and I think we need to look at it and reframe the language that's being used. Definitely, there is much more spotlight being shone on it, but I think we need to try and keep a rein on the kind of negativity we feed it as well. And I
think that's really interesting, because I suppose also with children, and I don't know if social media plays a part in this, but you can't have this idea that everyone can be happy all the time and that everything's sweet and light. Like that, there has to be light and shade, and then everyone's going to feel low at various points. But I suppose it's how you deal with that and what your mechanisms are to bounce back.
And understanding that that's just part of life, and that's normal. That is natural. It's there's no rights or wrongs with it. I think knowing what to do when you, which is something that another reason I set up Happy Paul, but it is to support a charity called Young Minds that do a lot of work for the mental health of children and young adults, to support them. And it's knowing where to go and what to do in order to help yourself or your child, or if you're a carer of a child.
Just having some resources.
Having resources and knowing that there is help out there as well.
Yeah. And Robbi, how do you think Moss, working with Happy Paul, how do you think Moss and clothes can play a part in self-care and making us feel better?
Yeah, I think that you've got to remember, when some people come to us for the first time, that's the first time they've put on a suit, or they're in a position where they've got to be slightly more formal or smarter than they may be used to. And it's the transformative part of that we see from people. I mean, if you spoke to Brian would tell you the letters that he gets from parents when they've gone in to pick the how good it makes them feel. Yeah. And if you went and talked to any of our amazing store teams, that you get someone in who maybe comes in and a little bit unsure of themselves or kind of what they're doing, surrounded by this type of product that they're not used to. But then once you get them in the perfect suit or the perfect piece of casual wear and it fits amazingly well and you can see their sort of shoulders a little bit more and that they sort of light up a little bit more. So I think there's certainly something in the way people dress and the clothes that they choose to wear that sort of does have that transformative power. You were talking about the amazing, and all of a sudden you were sitting a little bit and feeling a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, just jeans and a t-shirt, but yeah, there's something about putting a well-fitting suit on. Yeah. I feel like I'm, here to do some work. So it was really suitable.
So I think there is that connection between what Paul's talking about there and the product. And again, when we first met and Brian introduced us, I was completely in awe of Paul and his story and the brand that he'd set up. And sort of after I'd left the meeting and spoke to Brian, we couldn't sort of wait to get it off the ground, really, in the right stores.
Yeah, so it's not in all the stores.
It's not in all the stores. It's in a select amount of stores. And again, that really came back to where can we display it best and show it in its best light. And we sort of worked a little bit together on that. But we were keen. And then obviously with the Young Minds charity work, we have an excellent relationship with Prostate Cancer UK as part of the tie-up. And again, when Paul mentioned Young Minds, I knew that, and we knew that there was more that we could do there to support that as well. So it wasn't just a case of Paul had great product and we wanted to sell it in the stores. It genuinely felt a little bit deeper than that.
Yeah, it feels a bit more holistic, doesn't it? And I suppose for modern men now, there is part of that thinking and of wanting to look after mind as well as
completely
the outside.
Completely. And Paul's product is maybe in some cases the first thing you put on, or in some cases it might be the cologne and it's the last thing you put on.
But
it's still part of the outfit.
I think it's a whole routine and it's a process, and it's like different materials. Like you're saying, different materials can make you feel different ways, and different cuts can make loose stuff, stuff. It can make you feel in a different way, and if you can transform just little things that are, they're all underplayed elements of self-care, but they all play into your mindset and change the way you feel. So, putting on a pair, maybe I should have chosen I thought I was a medium, but obviously I'm a large.
That's all that. Yeah, my gym you should do. Yeah.
Robbi, what's my t-shirt? What's
that? You've got an oatmeal knitted t-shirt, which is beautiful, and then a striped beach pant.
More beautiful if it was a bit larger, maybe.
I think you pull it off very well. Thank you
very much. Yeah, but I think that it's really important the way that clothes can make you feel, and I do love clothes as well, so it's lovely to be in a space where I get to see and enjoy all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to be able to have that whole round holistic approach to self-care. It's something that's very, very simple and doesn't take any thinking about.
Absolutely. And it feels like women traditionally have been much better at talking about self-care and the joys of clothes and shopping, but it is a real pleasure, isn't it? And as you've already articulated, a very useful thing to take some time, whether it's in your morning routines or the clothes you wear. All these things can help your mental state and make you feel better.
Yeah, absolutely.
We touched on products and routines, and as always on the podcast, I really like to find out about the guests' morning and evening routines, and maybe a couple of the key products that they like to use. Have a little sort of nose around their bathroom cabinets, as it were. People come up with all kinds of different things, and I wonder, with you, Robbi, what sort of products do you have in your arsenal?
We spoke about this beforehand. We're quite similar.
Extensive?
No, mine's pretty terrible, right? That I've only ever really used sort of water. I have cold shower. Water. Seriously. Unbranded. in terms of yeah, there'll be a really nice choice I use. Yeah, but things like I'm a sucker for a cold shower.
Are you?
Yeah, oh my God. I think this has transformed my life, yeah.
The whole thing is
straight in, yeah. I'm not one of them that starts warm and turns it cold.
Have you been doing that a while?
7 years, 8 years.
So you were ahead of the
Wim Hof. Well, I read the...
Did he get it from you?
I did, yeah. I wish.
He's just saving on heating.
Stuff. No, I did. I read I'd read a few other bits and pieces about it, and then obviously I read the book, which is amazing. But I really believe it makes a massive difference. Seriously.
In what way?
Well, I think you're immediately woken up. You're immediately sort of when you get into a cold shower, you're immediately woken up. It sort of gets everything going, gets your mind going. You tend to spend far less time in the shower if it's freezing cold, right? So your day starts a bit quicker.
And good for the environment.
But I have
that invigorating sort of...
Yeah, completely. Yeah, that's sort of getting in and really getting going, and you're dealing with something straight away. You've got a choice to make straight away. Because when some people, you sort of wander into the shower half asleep and you turn it on warm, and it's almost like you're not quite out of bed, even though you're out of bed.
Sometimes I can find myself doing a sort of few minutes of thinking and stuff, and actually, I should just get on with it.
Yeah. Whereas this is, I made a very deliberate choice at whatever time I get up. And in the shower and ice cold, and then I can start my day. And I certainly have my favourite body washes and things like that. Yeah, that I use.
And so you work in a sector where it is about appearance things. So how do you feel about hair and fragrance, and is that a part of your regular routine?
Yeah, completely. Like I feel that you've certainly got a responsibility when you work in this space to present yourself in the right way, and that's often your right way. You've got to be quite confident in being able to present it in your right, because there's lots of people that probably work in an industry like this where they feel that they've got to be a certain way outwardly to sort of please everybody else maybe sometimes. But I think the real confidence about the way people dress and style themselves, and we were talking a little bit about this yesterday in another meeting, style is a very, very difficult thing to pinpoint. It's almost a feeling more than it is a visual. But you certainly look at some people that are amazingly well dressed. Some of them are very, very stylish, and some of them is just surface level, well dressed. So I certainly feel a responsibility to always turn up and whatever your view of what I'm wearing, always try my best to look well.
So the vouch, Robbi always does look well turned out.
He does, and I think exactly what he was saying, that Robbi is very stylish, and perhaps you might think of someone who works at Moss and imagine it a certain way in a suit, but Robbi manages to put his own twist on it. If I could, he's got a few he's got tattoos, his shirt is untucked, but he's got a tie, and he's put his own spin on it, but
it's very kind.
but very stylish.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's very, very kind. Yeah, and I think I don't do this I don't dress myself really for anybody else.
Yeah.
I dress to feel comfortable and feel confident in what I'm doing.
But are you wanting to make a
part of my
statement?
No, completely the opposite.
Right.
But I am also conscious that within part of my role, I'm responsible along with Gabriella, who's amazing head of design and buying, and her amazing team, that I'm responsible for shaping how the brand looks outwardly. So responsible for the styling on e-commerce or for campaigns, and what goes in the windows and how that's styled and how the store is pulled together. So I'm conscious that I've got to represent that to a certain degree, but I've got to have my own personality in it and feel comfortable. Yeah, sure. And I'm certainly about comfort, even in tailoring. I think it's important.
Because your suit there's more of a sort of cotton.
It's cotton, it's cotton, and I'll probably be in trouble for saying it. It's one of my favourites from a couple of seasons ago. But it's got some beautiful details on it. Working cuff,
colour that
beautiful ANF stitching. So a working cuff is a lovely detail that often goes unnoticed, but it can be then worn slightly more relaxed. So I'll have them unbuttoned rather than having them buttoned up. The way that I wear my shirt or the way that I wear my trousers, they're slightly more relaxed than what you would consider sort of stiff tailoring, really.
And so, is there a fragrance you like to wear?
Yeah, I have two fragrances that I love. I have another 13, Labo, right. And I have Wonderwood from Comme des Garçons, and they've been my favourites for a while, forever. And I used to use matching aftershave and body wash, but when I was much younger, but I use Byredo as a body wash, which I love. And again, they feel like a treat.
Yeah.
So even though I'm in a nice cold shower, it feels like a treat using a nice body wash,
Yeah.
So I think we're certainly entitled to a nice treat.
Yeah,
you definitely are. Paul, how about you in terms of your morning and evening routines? Having, as you mentioned to me before, grown up in the industry and beauty and skincare is your sector. Does that mean you've got a big array of products?
I've got a lot of products. Not many of them have been bought, unfortunately. Or fortunately.
So you're surrounded by...
I'm surrounded by things that I've picked up around the office, which is, the easiest thing, and things that look interesting. I do like experience. I think I put experience in trying things beyond and above having a staple. I mean, I do have staples.
So experience in that you wanted to keep trying new products.
Yeah, absolutely. And ever since developing Happy Paul, and that comes from being inspired by certain things. So I've got a really simple thing, which is a Jack Black scrub for my face, and I just love the mechanical element of the scrub. It's not a peel, it is.
Do you put that on every day?
I use it probably every other day. It gives you that awake feeling because it's quite minty fresh as well. But it's something about the mechanical scrub that really...
That slightly abrasive.
The abrasiveness.
Yeah.
It's not quite, punishing myself, but it just feels
mildly
punishing, but in a fun kind of way.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely something I'd love to do. I've tried so many times to do Robbi's. Not Robbi shower, obviously.
Not with her.
No, that's... I don't even know.
That's a whole different podcast.
But cold shower. And and it is so good for you. I mean, I recommend it. I don't know whether I can do it in a shower. I can do
Have you done those sort of plunge?
I've done the plunge baths.
Yeah.
Those I can do. Shower-wise, I can't quite get it down to that temperature. I'm more of a kind of... I need to have a comfortable shower because I enjoy it as well. And there's a bit of mindfulness with it. So whatever I use in the shower, my routine tends to focus around really simple decluttering of my mind.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think that's the thing that I use those sort of moments for, is just to completely focus on nothing apart from what I'm actually doing.
Being very present.
Yeah. And it helps. It's a nice way to set my day. I mean, like I said, I'd love to do the cold shower, but I just would be shivering for a long time afterwards. So I think that the decluttering of my mind, I think also that one of my main routines that I do is, as you probably see, is my head is shaven.
Yes.
My face is not.
Yes.
And shaving my head, and I have been developing a product for Happy Paul as well.
Have you?
Been using lots of different things and trying to work out which leaves less blood on my head. It's probably one of the things I do. And I'm not so much into the actual razor blade. I use a very basic razor blade. There's safety, but it's quite basic. But it's about protection and the moisturisation of my head and how it leaves.
Yeah, so do you put something on afterwards, some sort of moisturiser?
I haven't. At the moment I haven't now, because I've just got samples of the new shaving cream that will at some point be launching for Happy Paul, and it's extra moisturising. So I do use afterwards sometimes if I need it, because your skin's changing the whole time. The skin's never really the same. So, if I have a hot shower, I would have wrecked it of oils, which is why the cold shower is so good, and which is why you look 20 years younger.
It's a youthful face.
As opposed to also being 20 years younger. Yeah. That's also the other reason you look 20 years younger than me. But, I think, hot strips you of oils. So sometimes if I do that, then I need a moisturiser afterwards. So
are you into SPF?
I should be.
You should be, Paul.
Does that work as an answer? I don't know.
Yes.
I should be into SPF, and
we can draw our own conclusions from that.
I'm working out whether I'm too old to be using SPF.
You're not. You're not.
All right. Well, I'm going home to put an SPF on. I
came to it. I don't know what I came to it quite late in the party, but now I'm quite an evangelist for it.
I think they're really important, and I have other brands that I've stolen from my day job, and they have SPF. So
it's really, and you'll know far more than me about this, but it feels like it's a really interesting sector of the market and grow. I was at some press event yesterday, and all these really lovely SPF brands now, and a big Australian brand that's coming. It feels like there's a growing part of the industry, isn't it? SPFs with different tint in them and things like that, and more sporty ones. But
absolutely. I think protection of the skin is really important, especially, it's always been important, but especially today, it's much more important. It's mixed with skin tints for balancing out skin tone, and it's all moisturising. So they're kind of multi-benefit products. Really, really important as well.
And how about fragrance, Paul? You obviously got a fragrance in the Happy Paul line. Is that your signature scent?
It isn't it is one of my signature scents. I think it's probably my easy signature scent. I'm very simple.
Easy reach, as they say.
It's an easy reach. It's like I can reach in any direction, and then
there's plenty there.
Yeah.
But now in Moss stores, you can reach it too.
Definitely. I was the first person that went into a Moss store and bought
your own product.
Yeah, I bought my own product. Loss making it was for me, but I went, took the family in there, and we had a little jolly there because I was so excited.
They said, it's doing so well in Moss. It's like we're selling out. Like you're going around buying it.
Yeah. Buying it. Yes, all those sales, all those units are back in my cabinet as well. But I'll be selling them back to Moss at a loss.
You must.
No. So I lost my father a couple of years ago, and he had he wore Creed.
Did he? Which Creed?
Ventus.
Ventus, yeah.
Ventus, that's it. Ventus. And he had, and it's very expensive. I didn't realise until I had to buy it.
Yeah.
And so anyway, much to the grandchildren who were like in their 20s, the grandson's disappointment, I pulled rank and I stole it from his. I inherited it.
That's a nicer word. Yeah,
it was handed down.
Yeah,
and
Did you get into it then?
Thought about it. I love it.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it, and I wear it and I think it's because of my dad. I wear it.
It's got extra significance
and comfort. It's got complete significance to me, and I love the smell of it. It kind of draws my sisters to tears a bit because it's my dad's scent, and I'm like,
it's amazing that smell can do that, isn't it? That sort of evocative memory.
Yes,
and it's the quickest way to bring those memories back.
Absolutely.
And you feel that comfort, you feel slightly closer to him.
I feel closer to him. It's really, and it's a lovely fragrance, but thanks, Dad, it cost me too much.
Yeah.
So I reached for Happy Paul, and which is much more reasonable. But that's my uplifting fragrance. I mean, I developed it with this amazing perfumer who, I was not experienced in that space, but I wanted to create a brand that made people smile, and the simplest place to start seemed like fragrance.
That must have been a really interesting process as well, to work with someone to actually develop what was in your head and the vision of Happy Paul, and to bring it to life, because I imagine there's a number of modifications and you're trying different ones along the way to get to the ultimate smell that you had in your mind.
It was an incredible journey. I mean, before this, you can create brands or products, or, anyone can do that. But the journey and the experience of creating something is why I got involved in it, is what I wanted to do, the creative element of it, and going on that journey. And I think that you can, you can find someone who will pull a fragrance off a shelf and will put your brand on it.
And so badge it, and
And that wasn't why I got involved with it, and that's where it had started. And then I got introduced to this amazing lady who has her own brand as well, and she's created for many other fragrance houses. And she sat me at her family table, and she just waved things under my nose, and she watched, I suppose, for my expressions, to see what direction we went in. We knew what we wanted to do, and we knew what essential oils would deliver those uplifting elements, but it was how they combined together, and then we just had to go out and test it. But the experience and the journey was amazing. Was for me, was personally enriching.
And that must be very rewarding to have something in mind, have your brand in mind. You said you're from an advertising background and a creative background, but to actually have this vision and then create it into a real product that sits on shelves in stores must be very rewarding.
It's kind of strange. I mean, when I said it, or if I'm doing an exhibition or promoting it anywhere.
Do you do that? Do you go to those trade fairs?
We do, well, I do that. I do it myself, and then people come up to me and go, "Oh, are you Happy Paul?" And I'm like, "No, I'm Paul." Happy Paul. And I love the irony. That's where the name came from. Obviously, suffering from depression, and Happy Paul, to me, it probably gets lost on a lot of people, and all they do is see me smile, and then they just assume that I've named it after myself, and nothing could be further from the truth. But it does give me, I mean, I'm amazed that, and that's why I think that anyone can do a similar kind of thing. I think you just have to take that first step and just go, I really want to do this. I want to, I believe in what I'm doing, and I want it to go that next step further.
Yeah. And you've got it to a stage where, it's now in lost stores, and what a lovely connection to
Unbelievable.
make.
Absolutely unbelievable.
Robbi, tell me about, people will know Moss from the high street. Tell me about the modern Moss now, and we hear a lot about how it's tricky in physical retail. What's Moss's approach to the high street? And I suppose everything has to be, what's the phrase, omni-channel now. Do you want to still, is the physical bricks and mortar store really important?
I think it's so important. I mean, the death of the high street has been spoken about for probably as long as I've been alive. I guess the longest.
And it's always changing, isn't it?
Of course it is. It's never really the death of the high street. It's more of it's a reevaluation. Brands are certainly reevaluating what each channel does for them. And the thing that we often forget when you work in it is the customer doesn't really care about what channel they shop with. No, they just expect the same service and brand everywhere. So we're working really hard on that to make sure that whether you go and see us in a store or whether you shop online, the journey of the brand is very clear.
To get that seamless customer
completely, because the customer has to be at the centre of everything we do, especially, and you mentioned it earlier, we're synonymous with weddings and occasions. these are some of the most important days of people's lives. It's hard to say. No, you can't. And we've been doing it for a very long time, and we're hopefully experts in that area, and we try our absolute very best to make sure that we absolutely stand up to the expectation. There's an extra layer of pressure, of course, and I think now where we talk about the high street being tough, we're certainly committed as a business to stores.
How many are there?
114. So then we've got some additional that we're working on this year that will push that number up. We've got some big flagships that we're working on. We're currently undergoing our biggest store facelift, which is on Oxford Street. That'll be our main flagship. So that's due to open late May. We've just announced Manchester Trafford, which is a relocation. Birmingham Bullring, we're currently on site, and we've got others. But I think the way that we're seeing it is that if a customer's made the effort to come and see you in store, especially for the type of product that we sell and want to sell, you've really got to give them a reason. That service has to be absolutely spot on. Our store colleagues have to have the expertise and knowledge to be able to really help people understand why that suit is the price it is, why it's been styled the way that it's been styled. Like I said earlier, that the product team have done an unbelievable job. We work on obviously developing all our own product. We buy cloth from some of the most prestigious mills in the world. We work on the Italian mills, Barbarius, E. Thomas, Furler. We work with a beautiful Italian mill that's making some of our beautiful Italian ties. And it's really helping the customer to understand that we're maybe not the brand that you thought we were. We're really interested in craft and quality and making sure that product that you're investing in really will sort of stand the test of time, really.
And I suppose the bonus as well are when you come into store, and of course it's that you can look on a website and browse around, but we all know that if we go into a physical store, in Moss in this case, there'll be things that catch your eye that perhaps you didn't think you were in the market for, or something else. You know, you might add a piece of knitwear or a tie or these extra things, and that's a sort of a good challenge to sort of add extra things.
And it's part of the development of the brand. When you asked earlier about all the additional products that we sell, we want people to be surprised by the level of quality that you can get from us in a t-shirt or a beautiful piece of merino knitwear or a beautiful coat or...
and it's much more seasonal now, isn't it? I mean, it sounds sort of obvious, and you think about that with, sort of high-end menswear, but I think that was the thing for me, being a novice, going there and go, well, actually, it's all about this season, and it's fabrics that I've seen on the catwalk. Well, it certainly feels like, we're now spring, summer, so there's different kinds of product in there. So it's being refreshed, and it's not just a bunch of tuxedos.
Or blue, black and grey.
Exactly.
That maybe worn for work. And I think...
So it's really contemporary.
Completely. And I think it's about getting the product on people's back and getting them to really feel it. The level of quality in the suit that you're wearing, the product that Paul's wearing, obviously I'm wearing, it's really high. It's really high, and it's really exceptional value for money. And value is not price. We are exceptional value for the level of product that you get and the quality and the time, effort and energy that's gone into it.
And I should have asked this much earlier, but your role of visual development, what does that mean in reality?
So really, I work with an amazingly talented team that deliver the outward projection of the brand, really. So anything that goes out to the public, anything internal that we work on in regards to styling, photography, design. We work really closely with the marketing team. We work really closely with the buying team to make sure that we're bringing their vision of how and why they bought the product and how, when they were picking fabrics from a tiny swatch, they really saw that being presented in stores and on site, and whether that be a major campaign we shot this year in...
so it's the visual language,
completely the outward expression of that, and I have an unbelievable team that deliver that. It's certainly not delivered by me solely. We have a very, very talented team that deliver that.
Thank you so much. And Paul, we talked a little bit earlier about young men now and this idea of self-care and what's going on. And, this does feel like a very live issue at the moment with lots of people talking about the Netflix adolescence thing. We mentioned Gareth Southgate. But I wonder for you, are you optimistic about young men and what's going on? Do you get any insight in your work with young minds? And what's your view on things?
I think you've got to stay optimistic, because if you don't, you end up thinking, what's the point? I think optimism is something you need to have. How it translates, young minds, and I, like I said, I got introduced to them a long time ago. They're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. I wanted to know how I could support them more, because from my own first-hand experiences of depression, but also I've got, not kids, old kids, 17 or 20. So, we've had challenges throughout the years, but I feel like I knew how to navigate those challenges, or we were able to, me and my wife, and get through it. And I think that there's a lot of families out there that don't have the knowledge, ability to do it, or maybe they don't have the family unit to be able to do it.
And we all know at the moment, I guess we're all getting anecdotal stories of when kids need some help with CAMS or some sort of mental health assistance. It can take a while, can't it? And sometimes time is not what you take time on your side.
But that while can end in nothing at the end of it. And that's the problem. So we were fortunate. We were involved in this process before COVID, before Brexit, before wars. When there was money there was more money available, and kids' mental health, of children, young adults' mental health was a priority. Education for them, making sure they were schooled in the right place, was a priority, and there was money there to do it. We were lucky. We got what was needed to move forward. That isn't there.
It's difficult now
for a lot of kids, and places like Young Minds help support those children, young adults, and they get involved, and I don't get involved. I do the easy bit. I try and raise money for them. I volunteered for their carers and parents helpline, got trained up pre-COVID, and during COVID I was answering phones just for half a day a week, but they were the most amazingly supportive. I was just a signposting service. I would send parents and carers to places where they could get help, or we had in back pocket a kind of they could be referred to a counsellor or someone more experienced when we felt it was over. And we had safeguarding abilities as well within the space, and they were so supportive. The team at Young Minds, I just can't sing their praises high enough.
I bet you've got a real insight though into you're seeing some real life examples and some cases that were coming through. It must have been an eye.
It was amazing, and sometimes you and as I said, we're not there to advise so much. We sometimes
sort of give them somewhere to go.
Give them somewhere to go as the next port of call. And Young Minds needed money. They need volunteers. Now the volunteering for the Parents and Carers Helpline, they don't do volunteers, they hire people. I like to think it wasn't because of what I
it wasn't your fault.
No, I like to think I wasn't responsible for that part. But they need the support of donations in order to help them carry on. But they do white paper work with government. They get involved at every level. I do the easy bit, as I said. I try and raise money through Happy Paul in order to support them in the work that I know is invaluable that they do.
Well, I'll make sure there's links on the program notes of the podcast so that people can find out more about Young Minds. As always on the podcast, I'm always interested in what the guest thinks about the man that looks back at him in the mirror. We have two men here today, and I guess some of the guests take this on quite a superficial level, or sometimes it goes deeper. But I wonder with you, Robbi, when you're getting ready and you've had your cold shower, and Robbie's looking back at you, what do you think about? What do you think about what looks back at you?
Oh, it's tricky. You've got to be so many things to so many people all of the time. And I have 2 young children. Well, not so young, but 13 and 11. Right. So quite the ages of things that we're just talking about. They're sort of right in the thick of it.
Time, isn't it?
Completely. Obviously, I'm married. Parents, brothers, sisters, sister-in-laws. Obviously, I have an important job to do here. I think sometimes, most days, you wake up and you feel that you're completely juggling all of those things, and it feels spot on. And I think there's days where it looks back at me and you wonder whether you quite got a grip on it all.
Yeah, whether it's all in
balance. All in balance. I would say that's probably one thing. I'm turning 40 this year, which, thanks to you, congratulations. You kind comments earlier. I didn't look it. And I feel great about it. Good. I feel great about it. I feel that I'm going into a sort of time of my life where, like I say, the balance seems to be in balance. It seems to be okay. So, I'm quite excited about that. I think there's always things that you'd want to do a bit more of. I'd love to do a bit more exercise. I'd love to have time for a few more hobbies. But again, that all has to play into your balance. But I would say I'm very content with what looks back at me. There's always things that you can improve on. I think the destination is never reached.
No.
And as long as you're prepared for that, it's always work in progress. I would say I'm quite happy, depending on the day.
Yeah, when we chat days,
so good. It was tough this morning. Yeah, for some reason this morning I felt a bit tough. Maybe the cold shower wasn't long enough.
How about you, Paul? What's your reflection on that?
I try. As I've got older and older, the mirror's got smaller and smaller.
I look remarkable. I mean, you've said many times about your age. I mean, I guess I'm 51, so you...
Yeah, I'm older than that. Yeah, I'm
you look
53. This is... I look a surprise, which is... What,
yeah, no, honestly. No. And actually, when you said you had a kid who's 20, I was quite surprised.
Yeah, I am old.
He looks good, doesn't he?
He looks great. Yes. I did.
Is that like... Do you do a lot of... Without getting weird, do you do a lot of... Do you work out and gym and all that?
I do. The gym.
I bet are you a cyclist?
No.
No. You had the look of someone that could.
No, I'm not a cyclist. I like cycling, but as in just on a bike,
but not getting the
bonds or
lycra.
I've got many cyclist friends, and I not quite there. I love...
What do you do? You gym?
Gym, yeah. I love circuit training.
Do you?
Like, I'm doing
a few times a week?
Cardio, 5-6 times a week. Yeah.
That's good, isn't it? That's
5 times a week.
Commitment.
That's what he looks like.
I need a
tight top on.
It was meant to be... I thought I was a medium, but obviously not. My mental health is heavily reliant on me.
It really helps, doesn't it?
It's like I sweat my emotions out.
And that's a good thing, isn't it?
I love it. It's it's another space of mindfulness, and mindfulness is whatever you make it. And I'm not someone that does yoga or does Pilates, and I have done it. I have nothing against those things, but I'm for the things that are for me. And at the moment, well, my body sometimes tells me differently, but at the moment it's sort of sweating things out and not anything that declutters my mind is good for me. So I'd say that's definitely, something that I enjoy to do.
But you are forced to be present, aren't you, when you do those things, and everything else fades away. It's quite good.
Drop a weight on your foot I think you definitely, Where I do it, there's a real camaraderie.
Is there? There's
lovely
good
environment.
mates at the gym.
There's no mirrors there. There's not people looking at themselves.
Like filming the whole thing.
Yeah,
filming Instagram.
Yeah, on Instagram. No, there's none of that.
Not a cozy gym.
It's a really lovely environment to do it, and I suppose it gives me the serotonin and the adrenaline, endorphins that I crave in order to sort of feel like feel good for the rest of the day or for the evening. So yeah,
it's great, and that might be linked to my final question actually, which is what makes you happy and brings you joy outside of the workplace.
Sure,
is that part of?
I think
looking after yourself.
I think it's definitely exercise is a massive thing. I'm a big foodie, and
are you?
I did a bit.
Are you a cook as well?
As a chef, yeah. I'm a cook. I'm not a chef. I trained. It's one of my every dip I have, every period of depression, I throw myself into something I shouldn't probably do. So chefing was one of them. I did stand-up comedy.
Did you?
Also, yeah, I know, it's a thing, isn't it?
I mean, no, I love it.
I did, yeah.
Like actually sort of ended up on a comedy club and...
Yeah, did the circuit. It's like sometimes you play to a room full of other comedians.
But straight into that, or did you do some sort of course?
I did there was a 10-week course in, it was in Covent Garden, and it was, it was for
That's amazing.
stand-up. So it was good fun.
How did you get on when you did the actual clubs?
I got on all right, actually. I had the worst one I did was it was at the Comedy Store in Covent Garden.
That's quite a big pick, isn't it? That's kind of a...
Well, it's a big space, but they put you on at the hour that they can't get anyone else to. And it was just for students, and all the students are really drunk, like completely...
How long did you do?
I did. It's a gong night, and I got gonged straight. They didn't like the look at me, basically. I got gonged straight away. They could tell I wasn't one of them. I was like shark bait, and I got up.
Did you get a joke out?
I didn't get a joke out. I had to go out afterwards and tell a few jokes to some cabbies on the way home. So I felt deprived.
Just to get it out.
Do you want to hear my material?
Anyway,
that's great stuff.
It kept me going. But so I did that for a stint.
But you got into cooking.
Which is cooking. Having animals, I've got animals. I've got my family. So spending time with
animals and your family.
I feel... in that order. Definitely in that order. And then, I've got a dog that gives me unconditional love. So now I get...
What sort of dog have you got?
Unconditional love. I've got a fox red Labrador.
Oh, beautiful.
He's gorgeous. Yeah. Absolutely.
A friend of ours has got a fox, and it is the most beautiful dog, and it's the soppiest, gorgeous thing.
And also, they're just the most food-driven animals ever. So to train them's easy. I mean, with kids, it's much harder to train them. Minds of their own.
So are you, is dog walking a big part of...
It is.
Is that part of your job?
Walking, going to the Hampstead Heath with the dog in the family as well. I mean, he was our lockdown saviour.
Same.
I don't want to say that I got him during lockdown when I shouldn't have got him, but maybe I did. But we drove to Wolverhampton, which is a big...
Of all places.
Yeah, and he came home with us, and it was, definitely for our whole family unit, and the mental health area. Maybe not so much for the cat who started, it wasn't too happy until he got the upper hand. But for the rest of us, it was just
It's funny you say that. We have one boy who's nearly 17, so we got dogs like 2019, but what you say, it really did, sounds cheesy to say completely to family, but like everyone's favourite person is the dog.
Yes.
Because when there's three of you, it's like generally two people are ganging up on one, and it varies who that is.
Yes.
But everyone loves the dog.
Yeah, the dog has the upper hand. He's everyone's friend, and it is unreal. No, the dog never pisses anyone off.
Yeah.
But whereas the rest...
Big, lovely, soppy face.
Yeah, soppy face.
How about you, Robbi? What are the things that bring you happiness outside of the work you do?
It's similar.
Paul's dog.
Works, yeah. Paul's dog. So when I saw his picture that he'd sent over, I assumed the dog was in that. The picture he sent over yesterday. Yeah, see?
That's right.
So Paul's dog brought me joy yesterday. No, it's similar. I mean, time spent with my family. I mean, I love it. I have a pretty similar routine every weekend.
You London-based?
I live out in Buckinghamshire. Yeah. I live out in I live out near not far from Hampshire. So I've got the sort of Chiltern Hill, a beautiful place to raise kids and walk the dog, and there's a really good coffee place that I go. And
you got a dog as well?
I've got a dog as well, exactly the same story as you guys. Lockdown dog, did or didn't drive to pick it up. That's my enjoyment really. I mean, I love to read and a few other bits and pieces, but spending real quality time with my family, and getting out and walking the dog. And
do you feel like, with the work that you do, the sort of visual side of it, do you spend a lot of time, with like fashion magazines and watching catwalk stuff and so on? Has there been other stuff that's going on in the industry or not?
I think it's hard that, because if you only rely on those sources, everybody's drinking from the same well.
Yeah.
So you have to have other things outside of that. I mean, I love my music, I love my architecture, I love reading. And I think I get that inspiration from other places, and just watching people and just spending time with your friends and understanding what they're into and where their minds are at. Like sometimes spark an idea, completely. Very similar.
I love it. I mean, I love watching people. That's always not in a seedy way.
It's not in a book.
It's always been one of my. It's got me into trouble a few times, but it's always been one of my joys. Is just observing life, like not just watching, just eyes open. That's what kills me. I'll go back on the social media, stuff like that. Or taking pictures of moments. It's like, well, just enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
Why are you taking a picture of the moment? Oh, here's a sunset that I saw.
Yeah.
Just
those people that like film a whole gig, with their phone.
I do really battle with that, and a lot of I get a fair bit of stick from people on this, right? That I don't have socials. I don't.
You're not on it?
No. I mean, I have an account that I use to keep an eye on industry, people that we follow in the industry and stuff. I have that, but I've never posted that because I genuinely feel like I'm missing it if I do that. And that's the same. Like I say, when I'm out on a Saturday and I'm walking the dog and I sit in the same place and I go to the same coffee shop, which is habit, it's just watching people milling about. And some people might sit there and take a picture of their coffee and their croissants, and I've never really understood that, because I don't quite know who it's for. Like I say, the way I get dressed and the way that I do it is often quite selfishly for me. Yeah. And I almost feel by doing that, you are slightly giving something of yourself up to, in most cases, complete strangers.
Yeah. So I think in all these, in both of your creative endeavours, it totally makes sense that you want to sort of keep your eyes open and see what's going on, because that's inspiration.
And that's the hardest part, though. The hardest part with things about social, that are you missing something? Well, or should you have it? And
probably not, really.
No, I keep an eye on it enough. But
a funny relationship. It is it's a blessing and a curse. There's some, for what I do, it feels like sometimes I've made some really great connections. And last week there was some guy had been on the podcast before and has a store in LA, and he happened to be in London. We met up and it was great, But
that's a really positive.
Yeah, I think so. I wanted a real. Well, I'm not going to meet everyone that's here not, but to then have a tangible meetup, and he was just as lovely in person, and a real connection. So that's someone that I wouldn't have met in any other way.
It has the positivity.
Yeah, but there's probably more than negative.
Well, I think that, and going to another side, is schooling as well. I think kids aren't taught how to work with social medias in your life. It's going to be in your life.
Yes, and the idea of just banning it is kind of tricky, isn't it? Because at some point, when if you get to 16 or whatever it is, when the ban lifts, then it's just sort of,
Well, and you're out of the circle. You then choose to ban it. You're sort of putting yourself outside of the circle, and it then becomes, I think, it makes it even more desirable if something's banned. Yeah, you are. So it's a fine line. It's a fine line, but you've
got to do what's right for you, what works for you. But I think acknowledging and recognising when it is having a negative impact on you, which until you're older you may not, but you get to a certain age. It's an addiction. It's like, I'm going to miss out, aren't you? Yeah. What am I going to miss out? Yeah. I want, Robbi's eating a nice croissant. I'm going to miss out on him eating a nice croissant.
Look at him, he's on that bench with his dog having a lovely
same time every Saturday morning. Yeah,
we're going to be there and then queuing up for the cold shower at the end.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, Robbi, Paul, thank you so much. It's been really fascinating. I've really enjoyed talking to you both and obviously hearing about the collaboration, and I think it makes so much sense. So I'm going to put some links to where people can find out about Moss and Happy Paul and Young Minds. And thanks again for your time.
Thank you.
My thanks to Paul and Robbi. I really enjoyed that. It felt like a freewheeling conversation that covered lots of ground and lots of topics. So I hope you enjoyed it too. If you want to find out more about Moss, you can do. They are on Instagram at Mossbros, which is MOSSBROS, and online at moss.co.uk. And of course, as we discussed during the podcast, they have a presence on the high street. And if you haven't been in a Moss store for a while, I do recommend you have a look, because it's certainly changing it, and it may not look how you think it will look and how it used to look. Some really great collections, and of course all their occasion wear and wedding wear, that's all still there, but some really contemporary suiting and casual wear and linen. Fantastic. Really recommend you take a look. Happy Paul are on Instagram at We Are Happy Paul, and that's we_are_Happy Paul. So it's WE_ARE_Happy Paul, and online at happypaul.co.uk. So you can find out much more about the Happy Paul range there. And the Happy Paul products are in 10 Moss stores, as we discussed during the show. We also mentioned the Young Minds charity. Now you can find out more about Young Minds at youngminds.org.uk. That's youngminds.org.uk, where there's lots of information. You can find out more and, of course, donate to the really important work that they do. So thank you to my guests. If you want to find out more about Man in the Mirror, I'm at Man in the Mirror Pod on Instagram and YouTube. I'm also at You Smell Great. What is it? On Instagram and TikTok, and that's a bit more fragrance content there. But would love it if you could follow me on the socials, and if you could follow and leave reviews on your podcast platform of choice or on YouTube, and let other people know what you think of the show. I'd really appreciate that. And of course, it's great for me to get the feedback, but it's also useful for other people to see what the show is all about and help the algorithms and all that good stuff. So that would be amazing. I keep forgetting to do that, but yeah, if you could follow, and it all helps. It all helps. So thank you to Paul. Thank you to Robbi. Thank you for hosting us at the Moss offices. And thank you to you, as always, for listening. And I'll see you next time on Man in the Mirror. Until then, take care.